Captain Talia Vaughn stood at the helm of the SS Requiem, her eyes fixed on the swirling blackness ahead. The stars scattered across the distant horizon like pinpricks in an endless sea, but what lay ahead wasn't the usual silence of space. The sector they were entering was uncharted, full of anomalies, unstable wormholes, and unknown dangers. It was a place where even the most seasoned captains tread cautiously. But not Talia. She thrived in the unknown. The ship's hum vibrated through her boots as she ran her fingers over the smooth surface of the command console. Her crew was already on edge, preparing for what came next. All systems functioning, Captain, her chief engineer, Lila, reported over the intercom. Good, Talia replied, her voice calm, but her mind raced. Her mission was clear: navigate through this treacherous sector and map it for the Galactic Union. However, there was one glaring issue: the uninvited guest waiting for them in deep space. A soft beep interrupted her thoughts, and a new message flashed on the screen in front of her. The message was brief but direct. Captain Talia Vaughn, this is Captain Raxer Zilkoth of the Draken's Fury. Prepare to rendezvous. We're taking the lead from here. Talia's fingers froze above the console. Raxer Zilkoth. The name alone sent a shiver through her spine. He was a mercenary captain, renowned throughout the galaxy for his ruthless efficiency and cold, calculated leadership. His species, the Zilkor, were known for their disciplined approach to combat, strategic, meticulous, and utterly unyielding. The problem? Zilkoth hated humans. Not just in the casual way most aliens did. No, Zilkoth's disdain for humanity ran deep. To him, humans were unpredictable, disorganized, and dangerous, a necessary evil, but evil nonetheless. The idea of a human captain sharing command on a mission was anathema to him. Talia smirked, the corner of her mouth twitching. If there was one thing she enjoyed, it was proving arrogant captains wrong. And Zilkoth, with all his pompous self-assuredness, had underestimated her. Prepare to open a channel, Talia ordered, her voice steady as she leaned into her console. Opening now, Lila responded. The screen flickered, and soon Zilkoth's image appeared, his reptilian face framed by the harsh lighting of his own ship's command center. His eyes, deep and cold, stared directly into Talia's. Captain Vaughn, he greeted, his voice smooth but edged with disdain. I trust you understand the stakes here. My crew and I are better equipped for this mission. You should follow my orders without question if you wish to survive. Talia's lips twitched into a knowing smile. I don't take orders well, Zilkoth. You'll find that out soon enough. Zilkoth's expression hardened. This mission is too important for your human chaos to disrupt. We will not tolerate failures. His voice dripped with contempt. I expect discipline. And I expect results, Talia shot back. Your precious discipline won't mean a thing if we don't figure out how to survive this sector together. The anomalies are unpredictable. We'll need to rely on each other more than your precious orders if we're to make it out alive. Zilkoth's eyes narrowed, but he didn't speak immediately. Instead, he took a moment, letting the silence stretch. Then, almost imperceptibly, he nodded. Very well. But make no mistake, human. This cooperation is temporary. Your crew is expendable. And I will not hesitate to leave you behind if necessary. Talia's hand rested on the comms panel, her posture relaxed but her mind sharp. We'll see about that. The transmission ended, leaving a cold, uncomfortable silence in the bridge. Talia looked around at her crew, each of them aware of what lay ahead and what they were up against. Lila was the first to speak. He's a cold one, isn't he? Talia's smile was brief but meaningful. Cold, but predictable. And I've dealt with worse. Are we really going to trust him? Lila pressed, her tone laced with concern. Talia stood, turning toward the large viewport, her reflection merging with the vastness of space. We don't have a choice. If we don't play along, we'll end up stranded in an anomaly with no way out. Zilkoth has resources we don't. But we'll be damned if we let him think he's in charge. There was a low hum from the ship's engines as the SS Requiem adjusted its course, joining Zilkatha's vessel as it prepared to enter the uncharted sector. "All right, everyone," Talia announced, her voice commanding as she turned to face her crew once more. "We stick to our plan. Let Zilkath think he's the one calling the shots. We'll use that to our advantage. Prepare for the unknown." The crew sprang into action, moving with practiced precision. Each member knew their role, there was no time for hesitation. As they crossed into the edge of the uncharted sector, a sudden, violent tremor shook the ship. The lights flickered briefly, and a low, guttural sound echoed from the ship's hull. "Shit!" shouted Lila from her station. "The anomaly's pulling us in. It's destabilizing the field." Talia's eyes locked on the star charts as the system's gravitational anomaly took hold. "Hold steady. We're not going in there blind. We need to stabilize the ship before it pulls us too far." The crew worked furiously, adjusting settings, rerouting power to the stabilizers. Talia's heart pounded as the ship lurched, but she maintained her calm. A brief glance at her screen showed Zilkatha's ship beginning to drift toward the anomaly as well. He had underestimated the force. "Captain!" Lila shouted again. "We're too close." Without thinking, Talia slammed her fist on the comms panel. "Zilkath! Your lead is pulling us into the anomaly. Reverse course, now." The reply came almost instantly, colder than ever. "I will not reverse course, Captain. You are responsible for your own ship. Follow my instructions." Talia gritted her teeth. Her crew had managed to stabilize their vessel, but Zilkatha's ship was still caught in the anomaly's gravitational pull. "All right, we're going to have to pull him out of it. Prepare a tether line. We're going to do this the human way." And with that, the crew of the SS Requiem sprang into action, once again showing that sometimes, it was chaos that got the job done. The SS Requiem cut through the void of space, its engines thrumming steadily beneath the feet of Captain Talia Vaughn and her crew. The remnants of the anomaly still lingered on their sensors, a shadowy, unpredictable force just beyond their reach. They had barely escaped the gravitational pull, but the mission was far from over. Talia stood at the command console, watching the flashing data streams as they moved deeper into the uncharted sector. The Draken's Fury was still in formation beside them, its sleek, dark shape a reminder of the cold discipline that Zilkatha's crew operated under. Even now, the Zilkor captain had yet to acknowledge their success in pulling his ship free from the anomaly. Talia had expected as much. Zilkath was not one to offer gratitude, even in the face of crisis. "Captain," Lila's voice interrupted her thoughts, bringing her back to the present. "We've got multiple readings ahead. Disturbances in the sector. Large, uncharted objects, and, possibly ships." Talia's eyes narrowed. The sector they were navigating was one of the least explored regions of the galaxy, but to have unknown ships hiding in its depths was a new complication. "Can you identify them?" she asked, her tone firm. Lila shook her head. "Too many anomalies. The readings are inconsistent, but there's definitely something out there. It's different. Alien, maybe. We can't afford to be caught off guard," Talia muttered. She turned toward the communications officer. "Open a channel to Zilkath. Let him know we're not alone out here." A few moments passed before Zilkatha's face appeared on the screen again. His cold, reptilian gaze met hers, and Talia didn't waste time with pleasantries. "There's something ahead," she said bluntly. "We need to scout it out, but we can't do it alone. We need your crew's help." Zilkatha's lips curled into a sneer. "I don't trust your crew to navigate this sector without causing chaos. But if you insist, I will assist. But be warned, Captain Vaughn, if this goes south, it is on you." Talia kept her expression neutral. "If it goes south, we'll both be in the same trouble. You might want to remember that." He didn't reply immediately, but the cold edge in his eyes was enough. It was clear he believed humanity was nothing but a liability, yet he couldn't afford to ignore the value of her crew. After a beat, he grunted. I will send my scouts ahead. You follow. But remember, if this is a trap, I'll leave you behind. We'll see about that, Talia said, her voice low, but with an unspoken challenge hanging between them. With a final nod, the transmission ended. Talia exhaled slowly, her mind racing. She didn't trust Zilkoth, but she had no choice. The unknowns in front of them were dangerous, and for once, the Zilkor captain was their best option. She turned to Lila. Get the crew ready. We're going in hot. The SS Requiem and the Draken's Fury moved closer together as they approached the unknown readings. Talia's crew was on high alert, every hand at their stations, their eyes darting between the flashing monitors and the viewport. A thick tension settled over the bridge, the kind that only came from venturing into uncharted space. The closer they got, the stranger the readings became. First, it was a flicker on the sensors, then a distorted blip on the radar. The space ahead of them seemed to warp and pulse, like some unseen force was bending reality. It wasn't just the anomaly, something else was pulling at the fabric of space. Captain, I'm picking up something large ahead, Lila called out from the sensors station. A massive object. Not a ship. It's like a station or a structure. Talia leaned forward, her pulse quickening. Any sign of life? Can't tell, Lila replied. The signals are too scrambled. It's almost like it's hiding from us. Understood, Talia said. Keep scanning, and keep your distance for now. Zilkoth. Before she could finish, a sudden explosion rocked the ship. The SS Requiem lurched violently, and alarms blared as the entire crew was thrown off balance. Shields up! Talia shouted, gripping the console. Her crew scrambled into action, their movements swift and practiced. Captain, it's coming from the structure ahead. Lila shouted. They've fired something, direct hit to our starboard. Talia cursed under her breath. Return fire. Target their weapons systems. Captain, it's not just one attack, Lila warned. There's something else. Ships, alien ships, are emerging from the structure. They're opening fire on both of us. On the screen, the space around the massive, hidden station erupted in a flurry of bright flashes. A swarm of alien craft, unlike anything Talia had ever seen, poured out like a nest of hornets. Their sleek, angular designs were unlike the vessels used by the Zilkor or any other known species. They were fast, deadly, and coordinated. Zilkoth's voice crackled over the comms, filled with impatience. I warned you. This was a trap. Now get your crew in order before we're destroyed. Shut up, Zilkoth. Talia snapped. We'll deal with this together. Help us take out their lead ships. We need a diversion. Without waiting for his response, Talia activated the battle systems. The SS Requiem's cannons fired in rapid succession, lighting up the void with bursts of energy. She could feel the ship's shields vibrate with each impact, and the stench of ionized air was thick in the bridge. But they were still in the game. Captain, Lila said, her voice strained, we've got incoming from all sides. They're surrounding us. We can't hold off this many. Talia's mind raced. They were being outgunned and outnumbered. The SS Requiem was a great ship, but it wasn't built for this kind of sustained assault. They needed a plan, and they needed it fast. Prepare the maneuvering thrusters, she ordered, her tone calm and commanding. We're going to do something Zilkoth won't expect. Let's show them how humans think on their feet. The crew followed her orders without hesitation. As they executed a sharp roll to evade the incoming fire, Talia spotted Zilkoth's ship on the view screen. It was locked in combat, but she saw the cracks in his defenses. His disciplined crew was failing to adapt to the chaos. In that moment, she realized something: the Zilkor captain's rigid methods couldn't handle the unpredictability of war in the unknown. He thought he had control, but the battlefield was changing faster than he could adjust. And that was where humanity excelled. Get ready for the counterattack, Talia said, her voice steady as she watched the alien ships circle them. It's time to turn the tables. In the vastness of space, under 1,000 flashing stars, the battle for survival had truly begun. The SS Requiem rocked violently as another salvo from the alien attackers hit their shields. The bridge was a blur of activity, flashing lights, the hum of systems struggling to maintain power, and the frantic commands of Talia's crew. Despite the chaos, Talia remained calm, her focus sharp as ever. She had faced worse before, but nothing quite like this. "Captain, shields at 40%, Lila reported, her voice tight with tension. "We can't keep this up much longer." Talia didn't reply immediately, her eyes scanning the view screen. The alien ships were relentless, darting in and out of their firing range, cutting off any hope of escape. Their sleek, organic design made them almost impossible to track. The station behind them, now fully exposed as an enemy base, was spitting out new waves of fighters with every passing second. "Captain," the tactical officer, Brix, called out, his fingers flying over his console. "Zilkatha's ship is taking heavy damage. Their shields are almost gone. If we don't intervene—" "I know." Talia's voice cut through the report. She turned toward the communications officer. "Get me Zilkath." A crackling noise followed before the cold face of Zilkath appeared on the screen. His expression was stoic, but Talia could see the strain beneath it. His vessel was on the verge of collapse. "You were right, Vaughn," Zilkath growled. "This was a trap. But you're not doing any better than I am." "Not yet," Talia replied, her eyes narrowing. "We need to get you out of here. I'll pull in close. You need to jump into the station's blind spot." Zilkatha's lips curled into something between a sneer and a grimace. "You think you can pull that off? My crew's already spread thin. You're not exactly in a position to dictate terms." Talia's jaw tightened. "We'll make it work. Trust me, Zilkath. You won't get another chance. Move now, or you're on your own." The transmission cut abruptly, and Talia didn't wait for his response. She turned to Brix. "Set course for Zilkatha's position. We're getting him out." Without waiting for an answer, she shot a glance at Lila. "Full power to the maneuvering thrusters. Get us close enough to use their blind spots. We'll take a risk, but we need him alive." Lila didn't hesitate. "Aye, Captain." Adjusting course. The SS Requiem veered sharply, narrowly avoiding a barrage of enemy fire as Talia guided the ship toward Zilkatha's damaged vessel. Her crew worked in flawless coordination, Brix adjusting their weapon systems to target the incoming waves, Lila steering them through a gauntlet of fire. Talia's heart raced, but her mind remained clear. Zilkath was a prideful, arrogant alien, but even he couldn't survive long without help. The trick was getting close enough to distract the attackers while the Draken's fury made a break for it. The battle was taking a toll on both ships. Talia could feel the pulse of their failing shields. Every strike was a reminder that they had mere moments to make their move. "Captain, their forward ships are locking onto us," Brix shouted. "They're preparing to fire on both ships." "Stay on course," Talia ordered, gritting her teeth. "We don't have a choice." Her crew moved in synchronized harmony, as if they had been in battle together for years. Lila adjusted their trajectory just as the enemy fired, narrowly missing the SS Requiem. Talia's breath caught as she saw the damage to the Draken's fury. Its left wing was torn open, sparks flying from the exposed interior. Zilkatha's voice came through the comms, this time tinged with something different, something resembling gratitude. "What the hell are you doing, human?" "I'm giving you a chance," Talia replied, her fingers flying over the console. "Get your ship into the blind spot now. We can't hold them off forever." Seconds ticked by, each one feeling like an eternity. Finally, Zilkath responded, his voice strained but sharp. "I'm doing it." The Draken's fury lurched forward, just as Talia had planned, taking refuge behind an asteroid field. For a brief moment, the enemy ships hesitated, searching for a target. Talia's crew used that time to hit back hard. "Now," she shouted. Bricks launched a barrage of plasma missiles, hitting several of the incoming ships directly. The alien vessels exploded in bright flashes of light, their debris scattering into space. But the battle wasn't over. More ships kept coming, and their numbers were overwhelming. Talia's pulse quickened as she watched the Draken's Fury engage its thrusters, darting forward to a safer position. She hadn't expected them to escape so easily, but they still had to get out. "Get us out of here, Lila," Talia ordered, her voice urgent. "We need to break free now." But before Lila could make any adjustments, the ship shook violently. Talia looked up in disbelief as a massive shadow appeared on the view screen, a ship larger than any they had faced before. It was the source of the enemy fire. "Captain," Lila's voice was low with worry, "this is a massive dreadnought. It's too much for us to handle." Talia's gaze fixed on the ship, her mind racing. This was the final test. If they didn't act now, the battle was lost. They had one shot, and it had to be perfect. Without hesitation, she turned to Bricks. "Target its weak spots. Focus on its engines. We need to cripple it before it brings its full firepower to bear." Firing now, Bricks responded, his fingers flying across the panel. Energy crackled as their weapons locked onto the dreadnought's engines, sending a devastating blow that forced the ship into a brief stall. Talia gritted her teeth. "Lila, take us in. Get as close as you can. We need a last-ditch effort." The SS Requiem dove toward the massive ship, threading a needle through the chaos of enemy fire. Their shields flickered and crackled under the barrage, but the alien dreadnought was too focused on Zilkatha's ship to pay full attention to them. "Now, Bricks!" Talia shouted. Bricks unleashed a final, concentrated barrage of plasma and missile fire, hitting the dreadnought's exposed reactor. The ship erupted in a violent explosion, its core imploding in a wave of fiery destruction. For a brief moment, silence fell. The enemy ships scattered in retreat, and Zilkatha's ship, now freed from its attackers, limped away into the distance. Talia exhaled a long breath, her body still tense with the rush of the battle. She glanced around at her crew, who were equally battered but unbroken. "We made it," she said softly. "But it's far from over." Zilkatha's voice came over the comms once more. "I owe you my life, Captain Vaughn. Don't expect me to forget this." Talia chuckled darkly. "You will. And the next time, maybe we'll be on the same side." But as the SS Requiem drifted toward safety, Talia couldn't help but wonder, had they truly survived this war, or was it just the beginning? The SS Requiem drifted in the aftermath of the battle, its hull battered but holding firm. The distant glow of the exploding dreadnought still lingered on the horizon, a reminder of the chaos they had just survived. The ship's systems were strained, but it had held together, just barely. Talia Vaughn stood on the bridge, her gaze fixed on the now empty space. Silence reigned, but the tension in the air was thick. The crew had fought hard, and they had won. Yet, something felt off, like the calm before another storm. "Shields are holding at 20%, Captain," Lila reported, her voice steady but strained from the battle. "But we're in no shape for another fight. We need to get to a repair station soon, or we'll be dead in the water." Talia nodded, her mind calculating the next step. They had no time to waste. The battle had drawn too much attention, and the chances of facing another wave of enemy ships were high. They couldn't afford to linger here. "Start calculating a course back to the nearest station," Talia ordered. "We'll need repairs, but we'll also need to keep a low profile for a while." "Understood," Lila replied, her fingers already moving across her console. The ship's intercom beeped, and the voice of Captain Zilkoth crackled through. "Captain Vaughn, I require a debrief. I suggest we meet aboard the Draken's Fury for a discussion." Talia didn't hesitate. She had expected this. Despite everything, the cold Zilkor captain was still standing, grudgingly impressed but unwilling to show it. "On my way," she said, cutting the transmission. Moments later, Talia stood on the command deck of the Draken's Fury, the scent of oil and burnt metal heavy in the air. Zilkoth was standing near the viewport, his cold gaze locked on the empty space where the enemy dreadnought had been. He turned as Talia approached, his expression unreadable. "You're more resourceful than I gave you credit for, Captain Vaughn." Talia didn't smile. "I'll take that as a compliment. But don't think for a second this changes anything. We survived this time, but it's not over. You still think humans are a liability." Zilkoth's lips curled slightly, but there was no warmth in the gesture. "I did. And I still do, in many respects. Your methods are unconventional. But today, you prove they can work. Your crew performed admirably." Talia raised an eyebrow. "That's the closest thing to a compliment I'm going to get, isn't it?" Zilkoth didn't respond. Instead, he turned back to the viewport, his eyes narrowing. "I wasn't the only one who underestimated you. You humans, you don't know when to quit. You're dangerous because you don't play by the rules." Talia's gaze hardened. "Sometimes, that's the only way to win. If we waited for permission to act, we'd all be dead by now." Zilkoth regarded her for a long moment, his eyes flicking to the scarred surface of the SS Requiem in the distance. Finally, he spoke, his voice softer than before. "You may be right. But that's why I'm asking you to join me. There's a war coming, and I'm not sure my people can face it alone." Talia's mind raced. "What do you mean, a war coming?" Zilkoth's eyes flicked back to hers. This battle was not just a skirmish. It was a signal. There are forces beyond this sector, beyond the Galactic Union, that have been watching us. And they're preparing to strike. Talia was silent for a long moment, processing what he had said. "You're talking about the threat that the Union's been ignoring." He nodded slowly. "Yes. But it's not just the Union that will suffer. We all will. The enemy isn't just alien. There's something worse, something I've never seen before." "Then why are you telling me this?" Talia asked, her voice sharp. "What do you want from me?" Zilkoth turned fully toward her, his gaze intense. "You're a human, Captain. And while I may not like it, I know your kind better than anyone else in this galaxy. You don't follow orders, you don't follow rules. But you know how to win. And right now, I need someone like you at my side. I need your people and your unpredictability." Talia stared at him, stunned into silence. She hadn't expected this. For all his arrogance, for all his belief that humans were inferior, here he was, offering her an alliance, an invitation to join him in fighting a war that was still only a whisper on the edges of the galaxy. "You want me to lead a human force?" Talia asked slowly, disbelief creeping into her voice. Zilkoth nodded. "Yes. Not only that, but you'll need to help unite the factions that would otherwise never stand together. The Union won't move fast enough. The Zilkor are too rigid. We need your chaos, your creativity, to pull this off." Talia's mind raced. This wasn't what she had expected when she boarded the SS Requiem all those weeks ago. She had set out on a simple mission, one that had already turned into a life-or-death struggle. But now? She was being offered a role in something far bigger, a war that could change the galaxy. But there was one question that gnawed at her. "And if I refuse?" Talia asked, her voice steady despite the chaos in her mind. Zilkoth didn't flinch. "Then you will have made an enemy of me. But more importantly, you'll have made an enemy of the ones who are already moving to take over this galaxy." The weight of his words hung in the air. Talia's hand curled into a fist at her side. She had always known that the universe was a vast, dangerous place. But this was bigger than anything she had ever faced. She exhaled slowly. "All right. I'll do it. But on one condition." Zilkoth raised an eyebrow. "Name it." "You'll treat my crew like equals," Talia said firmly. "I'm not leading a band of soldiers. We work together. We survive together." For the first time, a faint glimmer of something like respect passed through Zilkoth's eyes. "Agreed." Talia nodded once. "Then let's get to work." As Talia left the Draken's Fury and returned to her own ship, a new sense of purpose surged within her. This war, this new alliance, it wasn't what she had signed up for. But it was something she couldn't ignore. The universe was changing, and it was time to decide whether she would stand by and watch or become a part of something greater. As the SS Requiem powered up for its next journey, Talia knew one thing for sure: this was just the beginning. And whatever came next, she would be ready.